All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a story that is absolutely foundational to modern Israel, the journey of its Moroccan Jewish community. And let me tell you, it is one heck of a story. It's about flight, struggle, resilience, and in the end, incredible influence. So it all really boils down to this one question. Why would a community of 250,000 people, who had lived in Morocco for literally centuries, just get up and leave? This wasn't just a simple case of immigration, you know? This was a full-blown exodus, and it was sparked by something powerful and, frankly, terrifying. You see, while Zionist ideals were definitely in the air, the thing that really lit the fuse for this mass departure was a wave of just brutal, targeted violence. It started in 1948. Pogroms in Oujda and Jarada left 42 people dead. Then more riots, more deaths, including an 11-year-old girl. By 1955, you have massacres wiping out entire families. The message was coming through loud and clear, and it was horrifying. You are not safe here anymore. And so, what do? You run. The exodus began. But getting out wasn't simple or safe. We're talking about a desperate, dangerous journey, a scramble for survival just to get to the promise of a new nation. And if that wasn't hard enough, after Morocco gained its independence in 1956, leaving for Israel was suddenly illegal. So the entire operation had to go underground. A secret Israeli intelligence unit, codenamed Hamaskaret, which means the framework, had to step in, orchestrating these clandestine smuggling rings with fake passports and secret boats in the dead of night.
The risks were just immense, and the human cost, it's heartbreaking. In 1961, a ship called the Egos, packed with immigrants, sank. 44 people drowned. Men, women, children, they were so close to making it. This one tragedy really captures the life-or-death stakes they were facing.
But here's the thing. For those who actually survived that treacherous journey, a whole new trial was just beginning. You've arrived in the promised land, you think the worst is over, only to find your dream crashing head-on into a really, really harsh reality.
The gap between the promise and the reality was just massive. They came expecting a safe haven, right? A place to finally belong. But what many found instead was a society that looked down on them, an economy that had no room for them, and an establishment that just dismissed their own incredibly rich culture.
And this wasn't just a vague feeling, it was systemic. It was in their daily lives. I mean, picture this, you're a skilled artisan from Casablanca, and now you're being forced into demeaning, dull work, just breaking rocks. Whole families were packed up and shipped off to these remote development towns with zero opportunity. And education? Get this, by 1961, out of 7,000 university students in Israel, only 35 were from North Africa. Bureaucrats treated them with contempt, making them feel, as one person put it, like a beggar at the door.
The despair got so deep that a 1961 government report documented the absolute worst outcome. Young men, seeing no way out, no hope of ever providing for their families, taking their own lives. That quote it captures the absolute rock bottom of that initial experience.
But, and this is a huge but, this is not where the story ends. Not by a long shot. This is where we see the unbelievable resilience of this community. Facing economic despair and cultural dismissal, they didn't just fade away. They leaned into their own heritage as a tool for survival, for identity, and eventually, for empowerment.
And what a cultural suitcase they brought with them. They brought back ancient religious poetry called piyut. They completely revolutionized the Israeli kitchen. I mean, dishes we all love now like couscous and shakshuka, that was them. They introduced amazing celebrations like Mimuna. And, so importantly, they were the ones who went out and settled and built up these crucial frontier towns in the Negev and the Galilee.
I mean, just take Mimona, this amazing festival right after Passover with open doors and tables loaded with sweets. It started as a uniquely Moroccan tradition. Today, it's a national holiday. Pretty much everyone in Israel celebrates it. It's the perfect symbol of a community's culture going from the margins straight into the mainstream. Okay, so we have this incredible cultural resilience. But how did that turn into actual power? How do they climb into positions of leadership? Well, we can see the whole arc of the story play out perfectly if we just zoom in on one town's religious council.
First, let's just set the stage a little. The town is Ma'alat. It was founded back in 57, specifically as one of these development towns for new immigrants, a lot of them from Morocco. Then it was merged with its neighbor, the ancient Arab village of Tarshiha. So right away, you have this complex, mixed city.
And Ma'alat Tarshiha today is really a microcosm of Israel's diversity. It's mostly Jewish, sure, but you also have significant Christian and Muslim communities living there too. This whole complex backdrop just makes the story of who gets to lead the Jewish religious institutions even more powerful.
And this brings us to the real turning point. It's this amazing symbolic shift. The very same people who were once sent to these towns against their will, who were managed and often mismanaged by the state bureaucracy, they eventually rose up to manage those very same state institutions themselves.
And let's put some names to this, because it's not an abstract concept. In Ma'alat Tarshiha today, the guy who runs the religious council, the administrative head, is Shlomi ben Dahan. He's of Moroccan descent. The chairman of the council, that's Rabbi Amnon Buran, whose family's from Libya. We're seeing a full North African leadership team taking the helm.
And this is so much more than just a bureaucratic change. This is the state itself, officially recognizing the religious authority and the cultural legitimacy of a community it once pushed to the side. This is the final step in that long journey, from being treated like an outsider to being a fundamental part of the state's fabric.
So when you zoom all the way out, you realize the story of this one community is, in many ways, the story of Israel itself. It's a powerful look at how a nation gets forged, how it gets challenged, and how, ultimately, it's made richer by its people.
And we should never forget the sheer scale we're talking about here. We're looking at roughly 270,000 immigrants from Morocco. That is by far the largest single community to come to Israel from any Muslim nation. Their story isn't a side story, it's a central pillar of the entire Israeli experience.
So at the end of the day, the journey of Moroccan Jews isn't just a story about immigration. It's a testament. It's about a community that survived horrific violence, overcame systemic discrimination, and then used its own cultural wealth, not just to get by, but to become an absolutely indispensable foundational part of Israeli society.
And all of this leaves us with a final, really important question. The story of Israel's Moroccan community is ultimately one of successful, if very painful, integration. But it forces us to ask, how does any nation, especially one made up of so many different peoples and histories, truly honor the past traumas of its communities while still building a single, shared future?